Hey there, it's Angela. I hope you're having a fantastic summer break so far. I will be back in August with season 14 of Truth for Teachers. But I wanted to do a bonus episode here in the middle. You may have heard me mention either here or on social media or in my blog that I was going to be doing a couple different live events this summer to give teachers a chance to talk about what it looks like to not go back to normal, but to find something that is better than normal. So we did our first live event on June 24th to discuss this on YouTube Live, and we had several thousand teachers popping in and out. The conversations there were absolutely fantastic. So I'm actually going to be doing this again on July 11th. If you want to join us, you can just go to the link in the show notes and sign up. It's going to be the same content that I'm about to share with you here in the podcast, though, so it's really your choice. If you want to just listen, everything is right here. You're good. And if you want to actually show up, chat with other educators, be able to see me, be able to see the slides for the presentation, you can sign up for that live event on July 11th. So let's go ahead and dive in here. I think as a podcast listener, you know me, and you know that one of the things I'm most passionate about is helping educators live a more purposeful and conscious life. And that's really at the core of what I'm going to be sharing with you today when it feels like we're in this weird transitional time, both in education and in society at large. And after the school year you've had, it's only natural to hope for getting back to normal after so many constantly shifting expectations. But I invite you to consider with me today, was normal really working for teachers or kids? What would it mean to truly reimagine education? Not just talk about it, but create a way of teaching and learning that is better than normal. Let's counter that lost year of learning narrative and find a more strengths-based, empowering perspective on the challenges ahead. Let's focus on what's most impactful with students and streamline the rest. I want you to walk away with new clarity about priorities, which will give you confidence in your teaching practice and empower you to set better boundaries for work-life balance. So if this past school year you felt like everything was chaotic and there were constantly changing expectations, and no matter how much you were doing, it never felt like it was enough, or you just kept hearing so much talk about reimagining school, but in the end, we mostly just tried to get back to normal. Well, if that's how it feels for you, you are not alone. One teacher recently told me this. She said, "I'm afraid that we missed the moment by not taking advantage of the pandemic's interruption to life as usual, and instead tried to replicate life as usual in a way that ultimately doesn't serve students or educators." And when I read that message from her, I just thought yes to all of that. I truly marvel at the collective rush to get back to something that was incredibly stressful and exhausting to begin with. And it's not just me. A lot of y'all are rightfully disappointed in how the powers that be failed to use the pandemic as an opportunity to reimagine systems. And I'm here to tell you, don't let their inability to dream keep you stuck. Our systems are often not meeting the needs of educators or kids, but the systems are made up of individuals. And as individuals change, systems can change too. My message to you is to dream something bigger, a way of teaching and learning that serves the needs of both teachers and kids. You see, I don't think we necessarily missed the moment with this pandemic. I think we've been in survival mode, right? Our brains have been overloaded with extra decision-making and risk factors to consider and new approaches to learn and adapt to. There's been no mental or emotional space to reimagine education. And my call to you today is to create that space for yourself this summer and let that time guide you to uncover your approach for the new school year. There's a formula I want to give you to consider as I teach you specific strategies and mindset shifts for this. It's clarity plus confidence equals vision. We're going to walk through this step by step. So if you're thinking, I want next school year to be better, and I hope it will be, but I don't know how to change things, this is your action plan. And it's probably not what you're expecting. If our goal is to reimagine teaching and learning, to change inequitable systems, to create sustainable workloads and expectations for teachers, to truly meet the needs of all our students without burning out, we don't need to be doing more. We need to do less. We're already doing way too much. If you're the type of educator who watches trainings like this in your free time for fun, there are probably very few things that you need to add to your plate that you haven't already considered or tried. And in fact, knowing all the awesome possibilities is part of what creates overwhelm. What you need is clarity about what really matters and the confidence to focus on those things alone. What is truly moving the needle for kids? What tasks are actually worthwhile because they're creating the results you want? You know the Pareto principle, right? It's also called the 80-20 rule. 20% of our work usually creates 80% of the results. So 20% of your assignments are probably driving 80% of student learning. And 20% of the things that you do during the day are giving you 80% of the payoff in terms of staying organized, in the loop, and on top of things. The rest of what we're doing is basically busy work. It's filler, it's procrastination, it's inefficient procedures, it's bureaucratic expectations, and other stuff that could be simplified. And the thing is, when I say this to teachers, and I say it a lot, I've got an entire book on it called Fewer Things Better, The Courage to Focus on What Matters Most. Whenever I say this, teachers always say, totally agree. I'm on board 100%. I just don't know what to cut out. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels important. I don't know what I can let go of. And I think what you need in that instance is clarity. You need to get clear on what matters and what makes a difference. It's like that expression of not being able to see the forest for the trees, right? You spent the past year, like all educators, in survival mode, staring at all the trees directly in front of you with understandably very little bandwidth to see the whole forest, the big picture, the end goals, the purpose of everything we were doing. And do you know how to see the forest and the trees? How to get that clarity? By resting, by daydreaming, by giving your mind space to wander. Now, the type A folks and the people who are happiest when they're busy and being productive and on the go are probably hating this advice right now. But real talk, you know why most districts didn't actually reimagine school like they said they were going to in summer 2020? It's in part because our leaders spent last summer in endless meetings. They were constantly listening to conflicting demands and opinions and getting tossed around like a wave between what this parent thought and what that parent wanted and what would happen to this group of kids and that group of kids and what this teacher wanted and what that teacher wanted and what the union said. No one was in agreement, and it was impossible to please everyone. And there was no time to get still and reflect. The past year has been hyper-energized as folks scramble and spin their wheels and try to brainstorm solutions without ever really taking the time to understand the problems and the implications of those problems and solutions. How different would this past school year have been if all of our leaders had been given permission to get still and crafted a realistic, practical vision? Now, a lot of our leaders don't have this visionary personality type. They would struggle with this. But even the ones who wanted to envision something better, they just didn't have the opportunity to really do it. And I wonder how things would have been different if they'd been able to say, I know everyone wants answers from me right now, but our leadership team needs space to think deeply about this and consider new possibilities. We need a week offline, not in meetings, not holding press conferences, not going to different PTA gatherings. We need a week to reflect and imagine and create. Can you imagine how much different the outcome would have been if that kind of leadership was normalized in our culture? If we demanded those skills from our leaders? If we fostered those skills? If we supported them instead of that urgent, make a fast decision right now mentality? Because what I'm telling you is, of course, countercultural. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is so unrealistic, this is just not how the world works. Yes, Exactly, that's my point. It's not what's happening right now on a large scale, and that's a big part of why we're in the trouble we're in. It needs to happen, and it can start with each one of us. So if you worried that we missed our opportunity with the pandemic, it's not too late. This is still a transitional period. Don't expect everyone else to understand the importance of dreaming something better or agree that it's useful to dream or to join you in dreaming. Do it anyway and see what happens. Daydream. Some of you know just what I mean by that. You're the people who like to go for walks or sit outside and just stare at the trees. You get your best ideas in the shower or while driving. Yes, do more of that kind of daydreaming. Dr. Rachel Kaplan calls this automatic attention. It's when you pay attention without effort because something is captivating or fascinating to you. This is part of why so many people love to watch the sunrise or the sunset. It's a chance for the brain to rest. We just take in the beauty of the ever-changing light on the landscape. And there's significant evidence that these practices create mental space for critical and creative thinking. These moments of automatic attention lead to better health and better life satisfaction. So for the folks to whom daydreaming doesn't come naturally, you can set yourself up for success by providing yourself with unstructured time. You see, your mind can't wander and it can't problem solve when you're just rushing from one thing to the next. So I encourage you to block off some time this summer that you leave unstructured. This is time in which you don't have any definitive plans and you don't have anywhere to be. There might be a menu of things that you'd like to do or even need to do, but this time block is wide open for you to utilize however you feel is best in that moment. So maybe for you, it'll be a set of early morning hours daily, or one weekend day each week this summer. Maybe it'll be a week-long vacation in which you're just not going to plan a ton of activities or overschedule the time. Maybe you'll take an hour each day while your kids are napping or after they've gone to bed. Maybe it'll be the 2 weeks this summer that you're not teaching summer school. Whatever fits your schedule and your life and your personality, practice giving yourself regular, unstructured time. You see, the life of an educator is highly structured in ways that I think we often miss because it just becomes so normal to us. But if we don't end class or pick up students from lunch at exactly 12:17, it's going to throw off the schedule for dozens of people and create this ripple effect of everyone feeling behind. Schools are full of strict deadlines and pacing guides and all kinds of structures that keep our time from feeling like our own. So on your evenings and weekends, and especially in summer, experiment a bit with unstructured time. And that's especially important right now as we prepare for a post-pandemic world. If you were home a lot more this past year, and there's a part of you that kind of liked that, or maybe saw that your stress levels were reduced when you had fewer activities to shuttle around to, remember, you don't have to recreate your pre-pandemic life. And you don't have to do it all right away. You can ease back in, go slowly, and be intentional. In spring 2020, we suddenly had all of these options and possibilities removed from us. Travel was limited, social activity choices were lessened, gatherings were minimized or eliminated. So to whatever extent you are now doing those things again, and I honor the fact that this varies tremendously from person to person and from region to region, whatever extent you are doing those things again is the result of you choosing, whether it was a conscious choice or unconscious choice. You chose to add those things back. Maybe you had stopped attending church or getting together for happy hour with friends or going to the gym. If you're now doing any of those things again, that's a choice. You decided they were worth the investment of time and energy and you added them back to your routines. Or you let other people choose that for you. I want you to know two things about that. First, it's not too late to make changes. If you accidentally added something back to your life and now you realize you really, really don't want to be doing it, it is not too late to change things. And secondly, all those things that you stopped doing in spring 2020 clearly don't have to be done. When everyone else stopped doing them, you did too. And even if you hated it and you missed those things dearly, the lesson is still clear. Whatever lifestyle you had before COVID is clearly not the only possible lifestyle for you. And if you want, you can keep that same energy you had during lockdown, or when you were trying to limit how much you were going out, or when you wanted to go out but lots of things were closed. You don't have to make major changes to your life and go back to that busy, hectic, go, go, go pace again. Other people may choose to rejoin activities and social functions and community obligations, but that doesn't mean you have to resume them all, and you don't have to do everything you were doing before. Because if you're going to simplify and streamline your teaching, I think you need to first practice doing so in your own life. Who you are as a person and how you live your life and how you spend your own time, these things all impact how you show up for students. So if you're not intentional about how you spend your free time, how can you really be intentional about how you spend your class time? The intentionality is the same process no matter what aspect of your life you're applying it to. You mentally take everything off your plate and you add back just the stuff that absolutely needs to be done. And you see why I think this is the perfect moment for that? Because we had all these things taken off of our plates, right? So we can be thinking about what exactly we want to add back on. Now, you might be thinking, how exactly does this work? What does that look like to be intentional in that way? So let's talk about creating the process of an ongoing practice of reflection. So you have this situation that is better than your old normal. The confidence to say, I'm not doing that anymore, comes from knowing that you are doing the things that make the biggest impact, the things that matter the most. And if you don't first uncover what those practices actually are, then you're always going to feel guilty when you create boundaries. This is the connection between confidence and clarity that I mentioned at the beginning. You execute a vision from the confidence that comes from having clarity about what's important to you right now and what's not. And summer is really the perfect time to begin those reflective practices. Think about what was really stressful for you this year and that you want to find ways to streamline. Think about the parts of your job that you absolutely hate and focus on how to create boundaries, how to simplify those things that you don't like, or cut them out, reduce them, make them less painful. And you don't have to reflect in a super structured way. My best ideas often come when I'm just outside going for a walk. I'll make notes for myself via a voice memo. If you want to, you could sit down and make lists or journals. The note-taking guide for this session could be a tool too. Now, obviously, it would be much easier if I were to just rattle off a nice, neat, universal list of things that you should be doing and things you should not be doing, something that just applies to everyone. Here's what matters. Here's what helps kids. Cut all this stuff out. But it really is a very personal process. I've walked through this with lots of different teachers and everyone's list is different. But I think the process is one that the most satisfied people return to over and over again. The people who are the most satisfied with their life are constantly reevaluating priorities. They're always figuring out what they want to add to their routines and habits and what they want to take away. It's that process of observation, what's working, what's not. So let me provide a couple examples to help you think about what things are worthy of your time and attention and which ones aren't. One of the easiest places to start is by looking for ways that you're going above and beyond what is required without seeing a commensurate impact. So are you working for that gold star that just doesn't exist? We have a saying in the 40-hour teacher workweek program, relax your standards to a level where no one else will notice but you. And some folks clam up immediately when they hear that. Relax my standards. Wait, doesn't that mean I'm not doing a good job for kids? But they're missing the second part. Relax your standards to a level where no one else will notice but you. Look for ways you are doing the most and it is not noticed, not appreciated, or not necessary. For example, if your district has a policy that you should reply to all emails within 24 hours, but you're keeping notifications on your phone or just refreshing email once an hour, that's not expected of you. You can change that habit so you're checking email 3 times a day, or maybe for some people, 5, 6, 7 times a day would be a big improvement. And that way you're responding to all of those emails in batches instead of one by one as they come in all throughout the day and evening. Now, will some families expect an immediate response from you? Yes, especially if you train them to expect that. If you email someone and they always get back to you within the hour, if they don't reply to you till the next day one time, you start to feel entitled to a faster response, right? You get a little indignant, like, what's taking so long? They always get back to me right away. Deciding in advance about your boundaries and communicating them to families and students is key. Don't train them to expect that immediate response. Tell them up front how long you're going to need. Give yourself a little bit of extra time too. If they know the standard for the school or the district is 24 hours and you happen to reply in 12 hours, then you're doing better than what they expected. And that's going to make them happier. So communicate what you're able to do, set your boundaries, and don't make things harder than they have to be. Another example for this is grading. Many teachers take way more grades than are required. So all of the districts that I've taught in 3 different districts, and all of them required 2 grades per subject per week. So I was an elementary teacher, so I taught 5 or 6 different subjects depending on the year, and I needed to get 2 grades in each one every single week. But I had colleagues who were taking a grade in every subject every day. They spent all their evenings grading papers. I didn't want to do that, and my kids didn't need a grade on all of that practice work. They just needed feedback from me. So I looked for ways that I could do multi-day assignments that the kids didn't just finish in 20 minutes and create a stack of papers for me to grade. I focused on bigger projects and then maybe just graded one aspect of that project, so it didn't take me as long to assess. Now, those are just a couple different examples. In your process of reflecting on what you want to keep and what you want to do differently next school year, examine the approach to your workload and consider what things you are doing that are making the work harder than it needs to be. Teaching is a serious job, and there's a lot of fear around messing up and not doing something right, or not giving your all for kids, or being seen as a person who doesn't give your all for kids. But you can't let fear be your driver or your motivator when you're making decisions about how to spend your time. Don't make fear-based decisions. Look for things that make the biggest impact for kids, give 100% to those areas, and then streamline, simplify, or eliminate the rest. Another part of your reflection process is to think about what kind of work has been wearing you out and what's creating stress. Has it been being on the computer too much? Or maybe just being on your feet too much in the classroom? Maybe it's the opposite problem. Whatever it is, you want to build in time for a break from that via a complementary activity. So, for example, for me, I know Zoom meetings completely wear me out. So in between them, I need a chance to step outside and get fresh air. Or sometimes I'll do just a couple minutes of stretches or yoga if I can, something that's completely different from sitting, staring at a screen, and looking and listening intently. Whatever you did too much of this past year, plan antidotes. If you had too many working late nights, plan for more sleep. That's a priority. If you were spending too much time on data and paperwork, plan for a creative activity you enjoy, something that allows you to be loose and free and do something completely different with your mind. If you spent too much time on email, create a summer routine where you can be offline more. Don't just go back to everything you were doing pre-COVID. Unless you were really happy with how you were spending all your time and you loved everything about your life and your work before the pandemic, you don't want to go back to normal. You want better than normal. So be intentional. Everything was taken off your plate at one point, just about. What do you want to add back on? Consider that for your life and then for your teaching. This is how you craft an inspiring vision for the year ahead. And you need that in order to counter those false lost year of learning narratives. You see, your vision for your life and work are independent of the vision of your district. Whatever they decide is important, that's their goals. You are not in the work of teaching to help students achieve a certain percentage increase on standardized tests. That can be part of your job, but it's not necessarily part of your vision. You see the difference? Your vision is why you're there. It's what you're doing in this profession. Why do you get up every day? What kind of world are you trying to help create? What kind of people are you helping to shape your students into? What truly matters at the end of it all when you look back on your life? And you'll notice the answer by how it feels in your body. What thoughts and tasks and responsibilities feel heavy and which feel light and energizing? In some respects, intentionality is as simple as doing more of the latter and less of the former. Space out those heavy-feeling, de-energizing tasks so that you have lighter, enjoyable activities sprinkled in. This is like the antidotes we just talked about, right? I know Zoom meetings drain me, so I plan time outside, which feels light and energizing for me. Try to streamline, reduce, eliminate as many of the heavy-feeling tasks as possible. And when there's a lot that's unavoidable, don't add extra. Report card week is not the time to repaint your entire house. If something's not urgent, wait. Tackle it when you have fewer heavy things happening, knowing that productivity is about a lifetime of accomplishments. A life well lived and students well taught, it's not about cramming in as many things as possible every day. It's about accomplishing the things that matter most in each proper season, allowing the ebbs and flows, the periods of more energy and the periods of less energy. It's allowing yourself and your students to make work and other responsibilities one aspect of a fulfilling life and not the entire thing that overshadows everything else. So don't wait for someone else to set boundaries for you. Don't wait for someone else to lighten your workload or take things off your plate. You do not need permission. You can lead by example. Be the change you want to see in your school, in your household, in your community, in the field of education. Embody your values, focusing your energy on that 20% of tasks that give 80% of the results, knowing that your well-being is essential for others to also be at their best. Don't settle for normal. Don't let anyone else define normal for you. This coming school year can be better than normal. Use your summer to daydream, imagine, enjoy unstructured time for thinking and experiencing automatic focus. Give yourself the space to develop the clarity and confidence to create a truly inspiring vision that will help carry you through whatever challenges are ahead. Now, obviously, there's tons more that I could share with you to help you live these ideas out. So I'm going to give you a couple of different resources that can offer support. If you choose not to take advantage of any of these resources, please know you are doing enough. If your big takeaway from what I just shared is, I'm going to give myself some space and some unstructured time this summer to let my mind wander and think outside the box. If that's your big takeaway, then you heard exactly what you needed to hear, and I want you to feel good about that. If you're a person who does better when you have more in-depth strategies and systems, support, maybe some accountability, here's a couple options for you. You can check out my podcast. It's called Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. It's free, and there's over 200 episodes there with mindset and productivity tips, as well as encouragement. We're currently transitioning to make the truthforteachers.com website a hub of more information like this from a diverse group of educators. So you will find lots of awesome blog posts, articles, and downloadable resources there too. So check out truthforteachers.com. If you want to dig deeper in this principle of having the courage to focus on what matters most, you can check out my book. It is available in print, in ebook, and audiobook. And I do read the audiobook, so if you enjoyed listening to this, you'll love that. And if you want to have community, accountability, and the support of like-minded folks, check out the 40-hour Teacher Workweek program. It walks you step by step through the challenges of each month of the school year, from back to school to report card and conference time to rebooting after the winter holidays to ending the school year strong. There's PDF and audio resources so you can listen or read, and lots of downloadable templates to help you save time. You can also tell your admin team about 40-hour leadership. It's a new program to help school administrators figure out how to cut through bureaucracy and inefficient processes so everyone can focus on what truly makes an impact for students. We help principals and other administrators learn how to free up time for teachers' most impactful practices and create sustainable workloads through a humanized school culture that's centered on well-being. A 40-hour instructional coaches program is also coming this summer to help coaches stay focused on what's most important in their role and support teachers in the same. Now, I think most of you listening to this are teachers. And unlike the coaching and the leadership programs, which you can join 365 days a year, the teacher program only begins once a year because it is a full year program and you join with a cohort of other educators. So it's about to kick off. It's kicking off July 1st, and the last day to join is July 15th. So I want to spend just a couple minutes here before I wrap up elaborating on how it works for those who are interested. 40-hour is personal and professional development all rolled into one, and it's centered on teacher productivity and well-being. And it's designed to be fun. There's no meetings, there's no assignments, there's no deadlines. I created it to help you maximize your contractual work hours. That's where the number 40 comes from, because that's approximately the number of hours that most teachers are contracted to work each week. So the idea is that you're maximizing the hours that you are getting paid so that you're not working endlessly on nights and weekends. You pick your target number of hours to work each week, something that's realistic for you, and you adjust that target number each week based on the different demands on your time. 40-hour has helped more than 42,000 teachers since I began the program back in 2015. And here's the interesting thing. We actually guarantee that 40-hour will streamline your work, you will feel less overwhelmed, you will reduce your work hours. If you don't think it's a helpful program and you're not feeling those results by September 15th, you can request a full refund. So you get to check out the first 3 months of materials to see if it's actually relevant and useful for you and your personality and your teaching context. But here's the thing, even though there is this literal money-back guarantee, working fewer hours is not the real goal for most people who join. Even productivity itself isn't usually the goal. We're not just trying to do more in less time for the sake of getting more done. Productivity is the means to the goal. It's a way to get back to your why, to have time for your health, for your family, for your friends, for the other things apart from work that matter to you. We've surveyed our members, and the average teacher who joins is working 62 hours a week. And by the time they complete the program, their average work week is 51. So that's a savings of 11 hours a week or over 500 hours a year. Imagine what you could do if you had all of that extra time, how much less exhausted you would be, how much more time you would have to be present in the other aspects of your life. That's the goal. The productivity is just the means to that goal. So 40-hour is designed to provide a workable system so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you want more than just the what of simplifying, you want the how. If you want teacher-tested strategies and support and accountability, you want to be doing something that can be maintained for years to come, that's what 40-hour is designed to do. And it works no matter how busy you are or how skeptical you are that there's really that many things you can do that will make a difference. You might be surprised to know that, first off, we have every type of teacher imaginable in the program, from K-12, any K-12 context you can think of. Special ed teachers, world language teachers, you name it, we're in there. And you may also be surprised to know that a lot of our members are veteran teachers. They are highly experienced. They've been teaching 10, 20, 30, some even 40 years. They're good at their jobs. They are effective. They're doing a great job for kids, but they want to find a way to do a great job for kids without running themselves ragged. And the truth is, if you are an experienced teacher, you know the profession has changed a lot over the last couple of years. This is not the same job that many of us thought we were signing up for all those years ago. The expectations have ramped up exponentially. So this is really a program not just for people who are newer to the profession, even though we do have some newer teachers in the program. It really is also a way to take your teaching to the next level, to sort of question some of the ways that you've been doing things just because you never had time to think of a better way. Maybe it's something that you do in your classroom that you know is a little inefficient or it's a little stressful, just doesn't work that well, but you never really had the time or energy to figure out how to streamline. And that's really what 40 Hour can do. Each month, we focus on just one thing. So I give you a whole bunch of ideas around a central theme. We spend 1 month, for example, just on streamlining communication and documentation. So how to create effective routines for email, paperwork, meetings, all of that kind of stuff. We have a month for lesson planning. We have a month for grading. We have a month for maximizing your instructional time and reducing time wasters with students. We have a month on teaching work habits to kids, so they're turning in their work on time and they're really taking ownership of things. And so the idea is that we're staying on this one topic for an entire month so that you have time and you're not rushed. Part of what I think creates so much overwhelm for teachers is that you're constantly trying to excel in every area all at one time. And it's really easy to think, especially during the summer, I'm just going to overhaul everything. I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to redo this. And it just becomes too much. So that's why we space things out slowly over the course of the school year so that you have time to experiment. And I think the other really nice thing about the way that it's structured is that I've identified core concepts and then optional extension choices. So if you're super busy 1 month, or maybe the topic for that month isn't something that you personally need a lot of support with, you can just check out the core concepts. And those are designed to be either read or listened to. You get a PDF and an audio version in 30 minutes. So that's it, 30 minutes a month, and you will get lots of new mindset shifts, routines, habits, all kinds of different ideas to help you simplify in that one area. If you want to go deeper for the topic, you have those optional extension choices. There are also remote and hybrid bonuses if you find yourself teaching in those formats at any time during the year. You'll have those resources that are also there for you, and lots of forms, templates, all kinds of things like that. And all of those different templates are arranged by grade level, so you can pick what you personally need. And if you end up teaching elementary now and middle school next year, you're going to have all of those resources. 40 Hour is not about your curriculum, your standards, or what or where you teach. It's about you. It's about your mindset and habits, and it's really set up to support you throughout your teaching career because you never lose access to the materials. And we find that tons and tons of teachers don't keep up with it 100% throughout their year in the program. They go back to it. And a lot of them get their best results in the second year throughout the program. So don't feel like there's any kind of rush that you have to keep up, or this is one more thing you're going to have to remember to do. I think productivity, as I've shared on the podcast many times, is a lifelong experiment. It's not something that you master once and for all. It's something that you're always sort of being adapting to your needs and preferences, your students, your school culture. And you don't have to fix everything all at one time. These are really just small tweaks that add up to big results. So there will be something every single month that works for your teaching context, no matter what or where you teach. All the most essential ideas are in that one PDF, so you can listen or read to that. So if you think this is something that you would be interested in doing, the program is $149. That is a one-time payment. It's for the whole year-long program. You never lose access to the resources, and you also never lose access to our discussion community. We have a Facebook group for elementary teachers and a Facebook group for secondary teachers. And we're also going to be introducing a message board forum option as well. So if you don't like social media, you don't like Facebook, or you just don't like the way that Facebook groups are organized, sometimes it can be a little hard to find specific topics and have continued discussions over the course of many weeks around a specific topic. We're going to have another option for that too. So you can choose whether you'd rather be on Facebook or in the message boards or both. So you're never going to lose access to that. We also have payment plans, so you can pay in 3 installments. We take donors choose. We have a purchase order process set up so you can pay with school funds, since this is professional development. We also have gift certificates available. And if you're thinking, this sounds great, I can't swing it this year, keep in mind that we also have a scholarship program. Every May, we award 60 applicants free memberships. So keep an eye out for that next May if you decide not to join this year. So lots of different options there to cover the cost. Again, you do need to join by July 15th. You don't have to begin by July 15th, but you do need to enroll. And that's because the program just kicks off once a year. You're joining with a cohort of other teachers. So that's when you'll first have access to the set of materials that will support you in creating a self-running classroom. And you may want to wait until late August or even September to look at them. I know teachers in New York don't go back until after Labor Day. So lots of teachers in schools like that don't even touch any of the 40-hour materials until really late August. So you're welcome to do that. Just make sure you get in by July 15th. Also, if you join during our early bird period, which is throughout the month of June, you also get extra bonuses for maximizing your summer. And these are pretty cool because these are not school related at all. They will help you make time for rest, for re-energizing, for daydreaming, like we talked about here today, about getting organized at home, basically just making your summer break everything that you're wanting it to be so that it doesn't fly by too fast and leave you feeling like you never really got that time to re-energize. So if you join 40 Hour during the month of June, you get those extra early bird bonuses, and you may just want to check those out at first. Just be thinking about your summer and then dive into the back to school stuff whenever you're ready. So if you want to learn more, go to 40htw.com. So it's 40htw, which stands for 40-Hour Teacher Work Week. And remember that the last day to join is July 15th. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting my work. I'm going to wrap up and leave you with a final thought here, which is this. You can't fix all the systemic and institutional problems that are limiting what's possible for you and for your students. And I can't fix them all either. But we can take charge of the areas that are within our realm of control. We don't have to settle for trying to go back to normal. We don't have to allow the status quo to go unchallenged. If each one of us stands up and says, I'm going to reimagine this aspect of my life and my work, and then another area, and then another area. If we do that, we can already see what happens, right? It's the start of a movement. It's the origins of a group of like-minded folks who can band together to create the world that they want to live and teach in. I want to be part of that movement, and I hope you'll join me. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.